Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Phoenix, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. Today, we're going to give you our way too early reactions, overreactions, and maybe some underreactions, and talk about what we've seen from the team in these first 11 games of the season. And as usual, we'll do some game recaps and some previews for this upcoming week. I'm Charlie, and I have David and Mitch with me. What's up, dudes?
I'm ready to overreact. I was ready to overreact two weeks ago. I'm definitely ready to overreact now.
And I'm ready to underreact.
So does that mean I have to keep the steady, just plain old reactions?
I was going to say, that means that Chuck's just going to react.
All right, so that's not going to be much fun for me, but you guys will have a good time. Anyways, hit us up on social media. Our Twitter is @SunnyandPHXPod. Check us out on Facebook under the name Phoenix Suns, multiple sources. Our email is sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. And of course, check out the website at sunnyandphxpod.com. And we know that you guys want one of these fancy The Cheese is Warming Up t-shirts we made. So be sure to check the episode description somewhere at the bottom here for a link to the shop. And let's get started with some recaps. The Suns played 5 games since we last recorded, so we'll keep it kind of light on these so we don't take up our whole hour like we about did the last couple weeks. So we'll start with the game in LA against the Lakers, where the Suns fell 119-108, and the Lakers were feeling themselves. They were feeling pretty good. They just came off a big win against the Warriors, and that seemed to carry right over into this game against the Suns. But we got to give Devin Booker a shout-out. He put up 39 points after putting up 38 points the game prior, which is just ridiculous. So, good for Devin Booker. Even though he did play 45 minutes in this game and got plenty of shots, it's still good. It's still nice seeing the kid put up buckets like that. And we also saw some nice games from TJ Warren and Eric Bledsoe. Warren with 22, and Bledsoe had 19. And the thing I'm going to start off with for this game is how disappointing our bench played in this one. PJ Tucker out there 20 minutes. We know he's known to be a defender, but 0 points and only 1 rebound in those 20 minutes. And then Knight, 17 minutes off the bench, only scored 2. And same with Barbosa, he only scored 2 as well. But then Len was our big leading scorer off the bench with a fat 5 points for this one. So, total of 9 bench points against LA's 47. That's a pretty tough stat to look at there. What do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, so I think our bench underperforming is more of the story, not the fact that the Lakers bench scored 47 points. They're like the number 1 bench in the league right now. I think that mainly has to do with Jordan Clarkson coming off there. Dude's just playing great. Being able to see Brandon Ingram play some more is, I think, really fascinating. Luke Walton has, as much as he has the whole team playing hard, I think watching Ingram being experimented with at point forward is really interesting and lets him kind of initiate offense that way, which is kind of nice. That being said, we just played garbage this game. I thought the only reason we were in this game was because Devin Booker he played 45 minutes and scored 39 points, and at the end of the game, he was the only person that seemed like that could make a shot. So, take that as you will. TJ only shot 9 of 20, but scored 22 points. He was a lot of offense, and Bledsoe scored 19. But it really seemed like the only guy that was getting us those shots at the end of that while the game was still close was Booker.
Yeah, he's the only reason that we lost by 11 instead of 25. It's amazing that it ended up as close as it was. But Devin Booker, he was kind of in a groove, so that's really nice to see some flashes of that.
And I'm going to go back to the benches again. Lou Williams is a tough guy to stop when he gets it going. He's almost like Crawford over on the Clippers when it comes to that scoring off the bench when it comes from a smaller guard, really. He put up 14 points, but after the game, I had to look at the box score because I swore that Lou Williams put up 30 points and didn't miss a shot all game. But I was wrong. He was only 5 for 12, but he made a big difference there. He was giving us all troubles on the defensive end. So one more note for that bench there.
Yeah, that bench is great, but really just the Lakers guards in general. I mean, D'Angelo Russell was pretty quiet with 11, but Nick Young had 22 points. Jordan Clarkson had a strong 18 points off the bench, plus Lou Williams 14. Their guards were just doing a lot of work against us, which is, I think, partially to do with the fact that their backup guards were going up against Knight and Barbosa, who are not the best defenders. I'll say that like that. So I think
that was
an
underreaction, an early underreaction.
I'm starting with them early. My early underreaction is that Brandon Knight and Leandro Barbosa aren't that good defensively. What I'm really disappointed with is 3 guys, mainly 2 guys. The third one just because we love him. But Dragonbender, DNP coach's decision. Tyler Ulis, DNP coach's decision. What in the world? Every time those dudes are playing, they're playing strong defense. And, I mean, like, you could say strong, you can say good, either way. Those dudes have started a lot of runs. We'll talk about another one in a little bit, but they've been able to get on runs and get the team on runs while they've been out there. And in a game where we needed runs, maybe those guys out there with Booker to give him a little bit of help defensively wouldn't have been the worst idea.
Right. That's a good point. And my final note, I know I said I wanted to see the Devin Booker, D'Angelo Russell matchup here, and purely based off points, Devin Booker takes this round by, 28 points.
28 points.
I love it. That's all I wanted to see. Just Booker put up a bunch of points on the Lakers. And we got to see that.
And what was the deal with Tyson and Julius Randle? Like, I think we just kind of have to mention that a little bit, because I have no idea what was going on. And Julius got in Tyson's head, which is strange that that's their guy that's getting in people's heads.
Well, and Julius Randle has been doing that to other guys too. It seems like every game the Lakers have been playing, afterwards you see Julius Randle and whatever
DeMarcus Cousins
center. Yeah, exactly. They get into it. So it seems pretty intentional.
Right. Randall's looked pretty impressive so far this season. He's starting to come around, I guess would be a good way to put it. And man, that hurt inside when you thought, okay, Randall's going to take this one in on Chandler when they were trying to ice the game. And I was like, oh no, if Chandler gets scored on right here, that's going to be a blow to the ego. But he dished it off to, was it Clarkson or William?
Clarkson.
One of those Lakers guards, and he just drilled the 3 to pretty much seal the deal. So that hurt a little bit deep inside as a Suns fan. That one hurt. Anyways, I think we should move on to the Blazers recap. And after that awesome overtime victory we got from them last time, we talked about how this one would be a tough one for the Suns to come back and win. And it definitely looked that way right out of the gate when the Blazers put up 42 points in the first quarter, and the Suns saw themselves down 17 heading into that second. But we watched Phoenix fight back, outscoring the Blazers in the final 3 quarters, but there just wasn't enough in the tank to pick up the win for this one. Final score 124-121 in favor of the Blazers. And the big takeaway from this one is their 2 guards, CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, they were just big time. They combined for 71 points on some really efficient shooting. So what was your takeaway from this one, guys?
In the NBA, only the fourth quarter matters, because obviously that was not the case here. To say that, probably not. I think our listeners are very intelligent basketball fans, but this is a great example. If your friends say, no one cares about the NBA till the fourth quarter, show them this first quarter and how the Suns lost because they only put up 25 and allowed the Blazers to put up 42. But, it's the bench played a lot better in this game. If we look at plus minus, which we've talked about how we don't put a ton of weight on that, but all of the starters were in the negative, so that gives you a general idea of how that went. And Dragon Bender got to play, and he scored 10 points, so that's kind of nice.
I think that a big proponent of why that first quarter was so rough for us was the fact that Tyson was out. Defensively, we had Marquise Chris in the starting lineup. I believe that was that one, right? Yeah. Yeah, and so Marquise Chris started over Dudley, yep. And then Alex Len started for Chandler, who was away from the team at that moment, I believe. I don't know if all this stuff had happened with Chandler or if he was just out just in general, but that's what went on. So I think that a big reason why that first quarter got away from us was that Alex Len and Marquise Chris were in there. And we really missed, I think, Tyson's rebounding. Alex Len had 9 rebounds, and that was tied for the high in rebounds for us, with PJ Tucker getting 9 as well. Then we've got Chris had 4 rebounds. TJ Warren had 3 rebounds. Bledsoe had 4. Booker had 0. Bender had 2. Dudley had 4. Brandon Knight had 4. And Barbosa had 2. I mean, our rebounding was hurt a lot by Tyson not being in there. And, his defense from the center position is there. And I think that with Chris starting over Dudley, we're still not in full sync defensively for our starting lineup. And I think that showed in the first quarter.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. And we also should say that for anyone who hadn't heard, hope everything's going well for him, of course, and RIP to his mom for sure. Earl Watson announced that Marquise Chris will be the starter from here on out, and there's going to be a lot of growing pains, so we just have to be ready for that.
Right on. That's good stuff. Anything else for this one? No.
Nope, we're good.
All right. It's time to talk about a victory from this week. The Suns came away with the win against the Pistons. Final score 107-100. And I'm going to let you guys kind of take this one away. But I have one remark I have to throw out. Really happy to hear that we're still booing Marcus Morris whenever he touches the ball.
Yeah, so this was an exciting win. It's always good to beat one of the Morai. And we were led by Eric Bledsoe with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. So approaching that triple-double, he kind of got back on track. And then Jared Dudley off the bench had 19 points, 4 for 6 from 3. That was a huge help for sure there. And then we only allowed 28 points in the first quarter as opposed to 42. And then outscored the Pistons in the second, third, and fourth quarters. So that's similar to against the Blazers, but much better first quarter for sure there. And TJ Warren got going a little bit with 18 points and 14 rebounds. So it was a good win all around.
Yeah, I almost lost my train of thought there. I only about watched the latter half of this game, which is really disappointing because I felt that from what I had seen and from highlights that I'd seen, that Jared Dudley really kind of started to thrive in the bench role. That just seems to be what he's more comfortable as. He can place minutes at the 4, and he has been and playing some pretty good defense, in my opinion, so far this season. But really him being able to come off the bench and just provide a spark plug, I think really helped our bench out as well. Just gave us a little bit more spacing on the bench. We're really missing spacing this year because of the loss of Lure and Teletovic. So I think letting Dudley spot up a little bit more just on the bench and hit some of those threes has really helped him out. And I think this Pistons game was the one where he really got that started, which was nice.
Right, and I can see that Jared Dudley may be taking over the sixth man role from Brandon Knight, especially if Knight keeps performing the way he has been. And one other note about this game. Actually, I have two more notes for this game. Really nice balanced scoring in this game. Aside from Chris putting up the goose egg, Warren with 18, Len with 16, Bledsoe with 21, Booker with 11, Dudley with 19, Knight with 14. Those are. When's the last time we had 6 guys in double digits? It doesn't seem like that happens too often, so that was nice to see. And one more note. This may be the first and last time in the history of Phoenix Suns basketball that we'll see Devin Booker and Jared Dudley both with 2 blocks apiece.
I think that's a pretty fair assumption.
I like to think that, yeah. I saw that on the box score, and it was pretty surprising.
They're great blocks, though.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about Brandon Knight for a second here. This was a very un-Brandon Knight-like game. He was efficient, 5 for 9 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3-point range, 14 points, 3 assists in 17 minutes. You know, if Brandon Knight can continue to play like that, that would be awesome. But, you know, it's not really looking like that's how it's going to go. He's still forcing so many shots and trying so hard to be the 6th man of the year, and not really understanding his role sometimes. So just Brandon Knight, if you're listening, this is a great blueprint for how games could go this season for you.
Hey, Brandon Knight, if you're listening, stop chucking.
No, Mitch phrased it much more eloquently than that, though. So,
at the arc that goes around the court, if you're behind that, it's worth 3 points, and even if you're an inch in front of it, it's worth 2. So you might as well just step back half a step before you put that shot up. Brandon Knight's long twos are continuing to kill me.
Wait, hold on. Are you trying to say if your foot's on the 3-point line, it doesn't count as a 3-pointer?
If it's at all in front of the 3-point line.
So if his foot's on the line, it doesn't count?
Right.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you saying you know more about basketball than Brandon Knight?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, decision-making wise, sometimes you move your foot back just a tiny bit, and it's worth an extra point.
Here we go. Maybe Brandon Knight just needs to link in a second step back to the first step back, and then he'll be behind that 3-point line.
Isn't that called the travel?
What's that?
This is the NBA, so...
Yeah, you're right, my bad.
I think he has at least 3 more steps after the double step back. It seems fair. And while we're just joking around about some stuff, you know, I'm just going to be blunt here. We lost to the Nets 122 to 104. I know Mitch didn't watch the game. I know David tried to follow with like the game track, but he didn't watch the game.
Nope.
I tried to watch the game, but the Coyotes were on Fox Sports Arizona. So I tried to wait till 10 to watch the re-air, but knowing that we had lost to the Nets and it being a little later in the evening, I couldn't go through with it. I fell asleep.
Yeah,
so
sucks.
We lost to the Nets. And then now we move on to this Warriors game that I know it sucks. So we'll move on to the Warriors game now. And this one was a high-scoring affair. And a shootout against the Golden State Warriors, it's not the best way to go about picking up that W. Suns fell 133 to 120 in this one. But this is the second time this season we've matched up against the Warriors and played them tight almost all the way through the game. And in this one, Phoenix looked great in the early stages, but just couldn't keep this one together for all 4 quarters. But, man, the Warriors are just, once they start clicking with that roster they have, especially the starting lineup, that's going to be tough to come back from whatever those 5 starters put up. So, again, another loss to the Warriors, but man, it's a feel-good loss there, I'd have to say. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think most of our losses feel like there's a lot of positivity that we could kind of bring from, which
Except for the Nets.
we're not talking about that. Like there are only really like a handful of losses that we've had, like I think 3 that have really just been like bad losses, and that's Sacramento, Clippers, and the Nets. So a big takeaway I think from the Golden State game is the fact that Bender got extended minutes. He got 14 minutes, while it's not like 20 minutes or anything like that. He was showing good defense like he has been. And we went on a run where we were able to get within just a couple of points when Bender was on the floor. And I don't think that is surprising. I think that he should have been switched out a little earlier than he was, rotated out towards the end of the game. But we also are a little short on big men, and we ended up going into like a PJ Tucker at center lineup, which is something that's interesting and we need to try out more. But at the same time, trying to out small ball the Warriors is never going to be a good thing. So there's that. I think also a good point is that, or to point out is, sorry about that, is that Devin Booker scored 19 points on 6 of 18 shooting. Dude has been in a little bit of a slump the last couple of games where he's just efficient-wise just not quite there. And he's still putting up right around 20 points, which is, I think it just says kind of our hierarchy of players when you look at it that way.
Right, and I think when we see Booker's shooting start to come back to normal a little bit, we'll also see that three-pointer start to fall quite a bit more often, and if he starts hitting a few of those per game, we'll be seeing these 20-point games undoubtedly pretty much every night. So I think once Booker, I think he's coming to realize that he's the guy that needs to get the buckets on this team. If we're going to set up plays, it's probably going to be for him. We've seen him play the extended minutes. And even people have been complaining about, are we playing Booker too many minutes, like that 45 minutes in the Lakers game? And I don't remember where I saw this, so I can't take credit for it, but someone said that they think Watson's pushing Booker to see what that tipping point is. Like, how many minutes can Devin Booker play before his shot falls apart because he gets too tired? Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe we're just we're finding out what kind of heart Devin Booker has. I love it, though. I think he's the future leader of this team, and I think we're doing it the right way with him.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I just want to note that Earl Watson said that the Suns will be the Warriors in 5 years. He compared the teams.
That if you believe in like juju and all that kind of stuff, come on, Watson, what the hell are you doing, man? I don't like to admit it, I'm a very superstitious person. I have to like when it hits to certain game time decisions where it comes to I can't wear certain shirts and stuff because I'm afraid of jinx and stuff. Don't go and say that you're going to be a team that was able to break the scoring record, or not the scoring record, but the win record of the NBA. Let's not say that. That's like Chuck in 1993, Round Mound Chuck, not our Chuck, saying that it was destiny for them to beat the Bulls in the finals. I mean, it's the same exact thing. Never say stuff like that.
Well, I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious. So it doesn't bother me quite as much.
So does that make you Chuck understitious?
For now, I suppose so. Well, I mean, why not? And hey, one more comparison while we're talking about the Suns being the future Warriors in 5 years. course that's going to happen. But hey, right now in the NBA, there are 4 teams that have 3 players scoring more than 18 points per game. And one is the Suns, Booker, Warren, and Bledsoe. And the second one that I see on the list here is the Warriors with Curry, Durant, and Thompson. So, I mean, we have the 3 guys that score over 18 points per game. Now we just need to fill out the bench with guys that will get us results like the Warriors get results.
I mean, it's not really the bench for the Warriors that's getting the results right now. It's the fact that they have 2 top 5 players and a top 5 player at his position and then another top 5 player at his position. So,
yeah, that's true. That is
I
true.
guess that helps a little bit.
Just a little bit.
All right. Anything else on this Warriors game?
I hope I don't ever have to watch another Warriors game again. Just kidding. I'm going to have to, and I'm going to cry.
All right.
You're not part of Dub Nation?
Speaking...
Shut up, Mitch. No, that's not even funny.
Oh, man. All right, David and Dub Nation, do you think we should move on to some previews for this week?
God, I hope so.
All right, let's do some previews for this week. And the Suns are on a pretty monstrous road trip for this one. And it started Sunday with David in Dub Nation against the Warriors in Oakland. And the next stop is in Denver to take on the Nuggets. And then after that, Suns fly over to Indiana to play the Pacers. And then they end out this week in Philly against the 76ers. So, where should we start with these 3 games? Who wants to go first?
They're playing pretty well this year, actually. Jokic, we were talking about this before we started recording, but it's pretty interesting. It has nothing to do with Carmelo Anthony. Believe me, I was confused at first too. It's just a really long acronym for are very, very high on Jokic. So we'll see if it pans out to be. It's going to be fun. People talk about that mile high, the altitude in pace. So we'll see how that goes in the altitude. I don't know if that actually makes a difference or not. I think it'd be real. But yeah, it'll be fun. I think we're kind of a team that is similar to the Nuggets, that are the future of the NBA, the Timberwolves as well. So it's cool to play these teams like the Lakers and the playoff teams of the league.
Right, and I saw that Danilo Gallinari is he healthy? I don't think I've watched this guy play a whole season in a while.
No, and he's throwing down dunks.
I do want to give a shout out to Emmanuel Mudiay. I always enjoy watching him, and it's really just interesting. The narrative going into last season was who was going to be the better guard in the draft, Emmanuel Mudiay or D'Angelo Russell, and now it quickly shifted last year to who is going to be the better guard in the draft, Devin Booker or D'Angelo Russell. So just always something to see. Emmanuel Mudiay, of course, went over to China and played instead of playing in college, all that kind of stuff. Just an interesting player, I think, and I just never am entirely sure who he's going to be able to be.
Kind of like Rondo, if he were to really tighten up that offensive game, maybe. That's like the guy that kind of comes to my head. Or maybe like an explosive Andre Miller.
That could be it. I mean, I don't know. It's just something that's really interesting to see. He's got athleticism. He's got driving, but his jump shot's pretty broken. Just it's interesting, and you should pay him some attention just a little bit for curiosity's sake.
Well, just for the heck of it, the 538 Carmelo projections compares Emmanuel Mudiay to 2016 Zach LaVine, 2013 Brandon Knight, and 2010 Russell Westbrook. Those are the top 3. So quite a bit of range there, but interesting to look at.
Westbrook Light isn't that crazy of a projection kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's definitely fair. Yeah, I can agree with that. So, yeah, I'm excited to see this Nuggets game. Like Mitch said, it seems like we're kind of towards the bottom of the bucket here, but both teams that have some really nice pieces that are going to make things interesting in a few years. So let's move on to that Pacers game. I know David likes talking about the Pacers, and he's a big fan of that PG-13 character. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, Paul George is one of my guys. I absolutely love him. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it was just kind of on his up and up when the Pacers and Heat were having the playoff rivalry going on for that short stint. Just made me really, really like Paul George, and I love watching him play. He is basically, him and Miles Turner are the Pacers right now. The Pacers, for whatever reason, decided to trade George Hill to Utah, and instead of getting a pick, picked up Jeff Teague, which I don't understand at all. Jeff Teague and Monte Ellis are not the optimal pairing. And with Paul George on your team, you want the ball in his hands, so you got another guy that demands the ball in his hands, which is just really confusing to me. They got Al Jefferson, who's playing backup center for them. I think he's healthy. And then, of course, they picked up Thad Young, who I think is the good pickup for the Pacers this offseason. And so I really like to watch this team play, and I just am not sure what in the world they are or what Larry Bird is trying to do. I think they're really missing Frank Vogel, but maybe that's just me. I'm interested to watch it. I'm ready to watch Paul George and Miles Turner, and that's basically what I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, Paul George is great. Miles Turner has been great. I think a lot of how this game goes will depend on how PJ plays, because usually he's the guy we put on Paul George, and PJ has been very up and down in this short season. You know, the first week that we recorded this podcast, during this regular season, we talked about how slow PJ looked and how, you know, he didn't look ready. And then the next week we talked about, oh, well, PJ's back all of a sudden. And now it's like, oh, is PJ really back? So we'll see where he's at there. But I think that will be a big part of how that game goes.
Right, and keeping things Paul George focused, I guess. Let's talk about TJ Warren having to match up on him as the game starts off. And we've seen TJ's defense improve quite a bit over the last couple years. And we see that I think he's getting 2 steals per game right now. Just active hands. He sees the passing lane, so hopefully he can do somewhat of a job trying to keep the ball away from Paul George as much as he can. But I just like watching TJ get matched up with these premier small forwards and just seeing what he can do, because we know where there needs to be growth for TJ is on defense. So I'm just a big fan of watching him go up against the best.
Yeah, I definitely have to say that TJ Warren playing up against some of these strong small forwards and other forwards at times is probably one of my favorite things to watch in these Suns games right now in this early season. Just watching him match up against Kevin Durant and getting ready to watch him up against Paul George, who's a great two-way player. I live for this kind of stuff.
All right, and the last game of the week, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, and this is a game I do not want to see the Suns lose, and I guess the only thing I'm really looking forward to is watching Joel Embiid play a full game. Haven't done that yet this season. I've seen the highlights. Dude's hilarious, too. Like, what's not to like about the guy? But I'm ready to watch a full game out of him. What do you guys think about this one?
Same. I mean, I I hope we don't lose. Last year we lost to the Sixers pretty early on, and it was really disappointing. So, hoping to avoid that one again. But yeah, I mean, Embiid he's such a mysterious player right now. Like, there's so much mystery surrounding what he could be, and he's playing so well early on. But yeah, I haven't been able to watch him play a full game either. I've just seen the highlights of him, you know, from his actual plays to his antics to anything, he seems like a hilarious guy.
And I'm going to throw out two other guys that I think you should keep an eye on. One of those is Sergio Rodriguez. They brought him over. He's, I think, 30, 31, something like that. They brought him over from Spain, and he's been playing some good minutes for them at point guard. And I think that's interesting to watch, just to see that guy, if you're going to look for guys to watch on the team. And, of course, Dario Saric as well. Hasn't been playing as well as these other guys, but he is projected to be in a similar role as Ben Simmons. And since we can't watch Ben Simmons, we might as well watch this second best thing on not the Warriors. God, the Sixers. Dario Saric.
And that brings up a good point with Saric. What I'm kind of hoping for is a resurgence of this Eastern European big man rivalry that we had in the 90s with oh my god, with Tony Kukoc and Vlade Divac and all those guys. Like, we're starting to get that again with Bender and Dario Saric, and we've got Bogdanovic, and we've got Jokic, Sabonis. Yeah, I think we're getting a resurgence of these big Eastern European big men, and we've seen that these guys have had friendly rivalries throughout their careers, and I hope we get some more of that.
I like that. NBA needs it. Why not? And fun fact about Sergio Rodriguez, drafted by the Suns in 2006, 27th pick of the first round.
The more you know.
Now you know. Okay, so I think that'll do it for the previews for this week. And now it's time to get into some way too early reactions, overreactions, and maybe some underreactions. We're throwing all of them out there. So we're going to talk about some things that have been on our minds, and maybe even some things that have been on the minds of some fans that we happen to follow on social media. So we're going to leave it up to you guys, the listeners, to decide which of these constitute as an overreaction. And we don't necessarily believe in all the opinions that we say. And with that, I'm going to get started, and you guys can let me know if I'm right or wrong. Dragan Bender is a bust.
Wrong.
See, I have the actual complete opposite of this. And I'm not sure if this is something I actually believe or not, but the reaction is Dragan Bender has a bigger impact and is a better player currently than Marquise Chris.
Ooh, that's a bold one too. Okay, here's my reaction.
I like that.
We've played 11 games.
Yes, that's obviously the thing. We've only played 11 games. But, I mean, we've seen it out of a lot of people. Dragan Bender, the number 4 pick in the draft, isn't starting. He's fighting for minutes. The rookie we drafted after him is starting over him. I mean, don't you guys expect more out of your number 4 draft pick?
You would think. I mean, of course, we went over so much stuff about how Bender originally was thought of as a drafting stash and is really a guy that's farther away along and needs a little bit more time to develop. I was tooting the horn about how I thought that Chris was the better player right now to help a team, but Bender would be the better player in the long run. But I don't think you can ignore Bender's defense already against some of these guys that he's playing against.
Yeah,
absolutely. Fair. Like we saw in the Warriors game, we saw Dragan Bender matched up on Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant matched up on Dragan Bender. And you think about it, why did we draft Dragan Bender? It's exactly to do that. Guard Kevin Durant. Guard the big, long stretch 4 who can get shots up over everybody. But Dragan Bender's 7'2", pretty lengthy wingspan on that guy. So, yeah, I really like the the fact that we've seen this happen already, and hopefully through the season we're going to see a lot more of it. But I think he's a bust, though. So
I just want to say something that I kind of noticed, especially in the Warriors game. So Bender was in the game. It was kind of while we were trying to get on that run while we were still in the game. We were going on a little bit of the run, and I was watching defensive rotations and Bender going around trying to guard. I don't remember if it was like Klay Thompson or someone, but there were two other Warriors bunched up, and so Bender was calling out for a switch, so that way we could switch and not give up space on the 3-point line. And I want to say it was either Booker or Knight that didn't get it and was just staying with their man, and it seemed like Bender was frustrated and ended up running around, and I think it was Klay Thompson made a 3-pointer. I don't remember exactly who it was, but his guy made a 3-pointer kind of because of that. And I think that's just something that shows Bender's basketball IQ as well. Just he is really being able to read things on the defensive end pretty darn well. And I mean, another reaction would be to overreaction, underreaction, but saying that Bender could possibly be a defensive anchor. You could throw that out there in the future, not right now, obviously, but the dude's smart.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Yep, totally. I think we need to talk more about your take on Bender being the better player overall compared to Chris right now. I want to hear your backup for this.
Yeah, so as I said, this is not something that I'm entirely sure if I believe or not, but if you're looking at the defensive impact of on the defensive side of the ball, the impact on the defensive side of the ball, when Bender is in the paint, his length, not necessarily his athleticism, has caused teams to miss in the paint. And it's not necessarily that he's this great shot blocker, but just the fact that his length has been able to help him there. Whereas in Chris's case, his athleticism helps him. Bender is able to have enough quickness, even though he isn't the most athletic guy, to be able to recover when a guy beats him, gets around him. If you look at, I don't have the exact percentages, but if you look at who is the best player right now at guarding the 3-point line on the Suns, the top two are Booker and Bender. Booker is surprised, but the fact that Bender, I think it beat Booker by 2 percentage points, and I think it's like something like 28 or something. It's something really dumb, like really good.
Stupid low.
Yeah, so I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's really good. And when you look at some of these defensive impacts, and then you see little things like him calling out a switch, him trying to direct guys on the defensive end that normally you would see from someone like PJ Tucker, is just way advanced for a kid that's 18. And while I think that Chris is better on the offensive side of the ball, let's not forget that Bender has some moves, and he has great court vision, I think, better court vision than Chris. He's still a little bit of spatial awareness. Both of these guys have when it comes to trying to get rebounds and stuff. But I think that while Chris does have a really good mid-range shot, I think that I feel more comfortable with Bender's. And especially once it gets out to the 3-point line, even though he hasn't necessarily been making a lot of them. And that's kind of where this whole reasoning comes from, is that I don't think that their offensive side of the game I think it's pretty close. Even though I think that Chris looks a little bit more polished, and obviously he has the athleticism, but I think that Bender is far and away the better defensive player, and one of the best defensive players on this team already. And that's kind of where this whole thing goes, of this idea that Bender is quite possibly the better player already and a more impactful player than Chris.
You know, I hadn't thought of that, but that was enough to convince me. I'm with you on this one. I think that when you talk about their offenses, their offensive game, I don't see anything so far this season from Chris that makes me say he's a better player with the ball than Bender. If you take away that athleticism, I mean, then you take away how many putback dunks and alley-oops maybe from Chris that we don't get to see from Bender. But just thinking like Chris with his back to the basket is something that we don't want to see yet. Don't need to see. We don't need any of that right now. And Bender's defensive game, I think it's quite a bit above Chris. Chris, we see the blocks, we see that explosiveness, but really got to appreciate a guy that's 7'2" who can keep the ball and the guy in front of his body out on the perimeter. So I'm leaning with you a little bit on this one too. I hope their minutes start to equal out a little bit more over these next few weeks or so, and especially if Chandler's going to be out.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is all really, really good stuff. The one thing that I want to touch on really quick is talking about alley-oops and putback dunks and all of that. I think, we put so much value on that stuff in America because it's so exciting to us. But
the highlight plays.
Yes, exactly, the highlight plays. But European style of basketball is much different. They put so much more emphasis on finesse and, just watching a lot of European players, at my time in college and in the NBA, these guys, the European players are so much more concerned with finesse, and they think a nice Euro step into a layup they put more value on that than a dunk. So I just think that, difference in culture is something that people, when these guys get to the U.S., people say, oh, they're not very explosive. They're not very, they just see that because they're not dunking as much,
Right, but Marquise Chris had that sweet putback dunk against the Warriors. So I just want to discount everything that you just said. No, I'm kidding. I completely agree with you. I appreciate a nice finger roll after a Euro step as much as a putback dunk any days.
Right.
2 points is 2 points.
It is. I mean, I love seeing the dunks too, and Marquise Chris can get up, and his putback dunks are great. But I think people sometimes think because of that he's so much better already,
Good stuff. I like where this has been going so far, and I think it's time to slow things down a little bit and get an underreaction from Mitch.
All right. Okay, this one could be pretty controversial. My underreaction is Alex Len hasn't been that bad this year. In our early season so far, he's had a bit of a slow start, but he has been starting with Tyson Chandler, not with the team for the past couple games, and he's been capitalizing. He had a double-double back against the Pistons.
Insert team here.
With back against the Pistons with 16 points and 14 rebounds. He had 10 and 11 against the Nets, and against the Warriors 9 and 6 on 4 for 5 shooting. I think he's really starting to come on, and I think people have just kind of discounted him a little too early.
Yeah,
I like that.
I mean, he's averaging 8.7 points and 7.9 rebounds. Not that bad. I mean, considering he's mainly playing on the bench. 8 and 8's pretty good. He's averaging a block and 1 turnover a game. I think that a big thing that Alex Len gets discounted on, and that's the fact that he just falls in love with that jump shot way too much. And it's so frustrating. We've talked about it a bunch, but I mean, from a numbers perspective, the 45% shooting isn't that great and isn't the best thing.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
8.7 points and 7.9 rebounds for a bench big, you can't complain too much about that.
So, what do you think it would take for Alex Len to average this season for you to say, we need to match an offer and bring him back on our roster this year? Like, if Alex Len's putting up a double-double per night, let's say he scores a couple more points and grabs a couple more rebounds per game throughout the rest of the season here, Is that enough for you to want to match offers for Len when it comes time?
I think it would be great if he could average double-digit rebounds, even if the points stay where they are. I'd also like to see that block total go up. His defense has been solid this year, but if I think that's what's going to keep him, on this team is if he can really step up on defense.
Yeah, block total. I mean, he's leading the team in average blocks, so I don't think that's as much. One thing from a numbers perspective that would make me want to keep him is if from this point onward he averages 55% from the field or over. That would make me think that he's taking less ill-advised jump shots and taking more of his shots around the rim, and that would make me think that he's starting to learn a little bit more and that we might want to keep him around.
Yeah, that would be huge. We all know Len's field goal percentage is not something that a 7-foot-plus guy should be shooting. Those should be buckets around the rim, not so many jumpers. We'd like to see that over 50%, no doubt. But anyways, I think I'm going to throw out an underreaction here. And it is, I don't think that PJ Tucker in the post is our most potent offensive option.
Oh my gosh. I remember us talking about this when we were watching the Warriors game, which I know so far away, so far ago, so far words. It was so long ago. That's the words I was looking for. Just talking about the elusive PJ Tucker post up on Sean Livingston, where there's no size advantage whatsoever, and we're trying to use that as a main way to create points. Maybe not the best idea.
Maybe not.
I have an overreaction.
Yeah, let's hear it.
TJ Warren is the second best player on this team.
Ooh. Tell me who first is.
First is Devin Booker.
Okay,
Wow.
I was hoping so. So you think it goes Devin Booker, TJ Warren, Eric Bledsoe?
Yes, I do. I think that TJ Warren has been playing harder on the defensive side of the ball. He's been scoring right around the same amount of points. Actually, he's been averaging 2 more points, 1.6 points more, 20 to 18.4 from Bledsoe on better efficiency and with not set plays. He's getting all of his stuff basically when the play breaks down. And I know that Bledsoe has been playing really clutch, and I think that's good. I'm kind of eating my words a little bit because their efficiency isn't too much different the more and more I look at it, but I'm still sticking with this, that TJ Warren is just a better player than Bledsoe right now for this team. If you watch him as he's picking off passes in transition, if you watch him while he is getting an offensive rebound, I mean, he doesn't get that many, but he's averaging the same amount as Tyson Chandler at 2.4. I mean, I think that him shooting 50% from 2, 81% from free throw, he's shooting, oh my gosh, I mean, not very good, but he's shooting 1% better than Bledsoe at the 3-point line. Bledsoe's shooting 26%, while TJ's only shooting 27%. Our team sucked at 3-point shooting. That being said, I just think that from that perspective, field goal percentage wise, let's see what that was. Yeah, so 47.4 for TJ, 45.9 for Bledsoe. I think that TJ Warren is the better player right now than Bledsoe.
Okay, here's my over/under reaction to that statement. I love that we can have this discussion. I love that TJ Warren is playing that well. This isn't that bold to say, but it's great that we can even be talking about this right now. I'm just excited.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, Man, I remember doing this podcast towards the end of last season to just be like, oh, 4 more losses we have to talk about. But now, like, this is exciting right now. We see TJ Warren. I mean, I think this is just a reaction here while we're talking about TJ. Most improved player of the year is within grasp for TJ Warren.
Oh yeah.
That might be an underreaction.
Yeah.
But the one thing, with Bledsoe and Warren, comparing those two, we just talked about this. Bledsoe looks, we were wondering, is Bledsoe physically tired? Is Bledsoe mentally tired? Does Bledsoe not care as much as we maybe think he should? He's looked a little lackadaisical out there, and maybe just not 100%. And we don't know. Is it physical? Is it mental? What's the deal? But I mean, you see, and we're seeing TJ Warren become almost a vocal leader out on the court. He's getting the guys pumped up. If he gets a bucket, he's hollering and like slamming his chest. We haven't seen that out of him before. Seems like he's really coming into his own.
Yeah, I love it.
I think that he's carrying the offense at times. He seems like the only guy that's getting buckets. I think that Earl Watson really needs to look at the end of games and start giving the ball to Booker and start making up some sort of plays where we can do a Booker Warren pick and roll, pick and pop, that kind of thing, just to try and get some switches, get some mismatches, and give both those guys an opportunity to score, because they are our best scorers right now, and at times they're the only guys that are like actually getting there. So I think that Watson really needs to think about that. And kind of speaking of Watson, I have another reaction.
Oh, here we go.
And
do it.
This is kind of an overreaction, I think. So far in his young coaching, so we have to remember hasn't really been coaching that long, his rotations are very questionable. I think that you've looked at times, and I think during that Warriors game where we had Barbosa and Dragonbender out on the floor for way too long, probably about by a minute, while we were kind of doing a little bit of a comeback, and we probably should have switched them out and gotten some of our main scoring guys back in. I think that at times Brandon Knight is out there way too much. There have been way too many times where I think Bender and Ulis have gotten DNPs or only gotten spot minutes here. During the Nets game was one of those things, like similar to the Sacramento game, where Ulis and Bender got out there, and like especially Ulis, his defense helped the Suns go out on a run. They were within 2, and then Ulis got pulled and Knight went in, and then the Nets blew out the rest of the game. I mean, I think just some of these things, I'm not sure if he's just trusting the veterans a little bit too much, but I think these young guys, especially Ulis and Bender, need to be given the playing time, because so far it seems like all they do is Ulis make plays and Bender just play smart defense.
Right, and I think we should just rope this all into one final one right here. I have a possible overreaction and a reaction that fit right in with this. 1, trade Brandon Knight. 2, play Tyler Ulis more. Get him more minutes. So, do you guys see a trade happening? I mean, if you go look at a Suns fan site or anywhere, you see trade machines of Brandon Knight going to like 15 teams. You've seen it all at this point. So, is it something that really might happen?
Let's trade Brandon Knight for LeBron straight up. Like,
that'd be fair. I think the contracts would work out.
We better get Love in the trade though too. We don't want to give up too much. We'll throw in Alex Len.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But no, I mean, you're right. You see so many trade machines. And the thing I think is, I don't know what people think we're going to get for Brandon Knight. He has not had a good season. And right now I'm thinking if we trade him, we're going to get a late first round pick maybe. I don't think it's worth trading him at this point because maybe he'll catch on and play a little bit better and raise his trade value a little closer to the deadline, and that would be the time to do it. But at this point, I don't think it's even worth it.
I mean, you look at his percentages right now. He's shooting 34% from the field. He's shooting 24% from the three-point line. And then he's shooting from free throw. I mean, he's shooting 93% from free throw. Great. He's averaging 11.
That's good.
I mean, that's good. That's what a guard should be averaging. But he's getting 11 points on 34-24 shooting. Dude, come on, man. Like, you were supposed to get more efficient while playing in this bench role, not lose your efficiency altogether. It's so frustrating, and I don't know what the overreaction and what the underreaction is.
Right.
But, I mean, like, his defense seemed like worse at times than last year against backup guards. His shooting percentages have dropped off. He seems like, I don't think he's taking more ISO possessions, but it seems like he is. I don't know what the overreaction, what the underreaction is, but it's frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see Ulis pick up some of these minutes, though. Like, I don't want to be drastic and ship Brandon Knight off right now for a bag of peanuts or anything, but I think Ulis deserves, 5 minutes per game minimum.
Yes.
Like, he needs to get on the floor, the floor general, the court general, the point guard. He needs to be out on that court. And if we're not going to send him to the D League to get those minutes, I think he's going to need to get him in the big show.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is now we have Jared Dudley coming off the bench and playing very well. We have a very small sample size, but what does that mean for Brandon Knight if it continues?
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be in the race for 7th man of the year.
I just don't know. I mean, even Ulis getting minutes. I mean, it has to come from. We have to cut minutes from either Barbosa and Knight. And as much as I say cut minutes from both of them and just give them to Ulis, I don't think that's feasible. Ulis can't play both guard spots at the same time. It's just, I mean, there's not enough of him. He's only like 5'8".
Not enough Ulis.
But definitely too much sauce.
That's too much sauce.
No. Here's another overreaction.
Not enough sauce.
Enough sauce.
Not enough
yes.
sauce.
Not enough sauce.
Yeah.
What is the deal?
I do agree with that. We
Tyson
need some
Chandler
sauce.
has been out. Tyson Chandler is not playing. Our only center that is on the roster is Alex Len, and we don't give Alan Williams any center minutes. What the heck, man? Coach Watson, what are you doing?
We need that physical presence down low. And with Marquise Chris, you don't get the physical presence. You get the gum flapping presence. All he's going to do is talk. So we need Big Sauce just bumping heads down low. I think it wouldn't hurt. I mean,
I want to see him run the point, honestly. No. that was a joke. Definitely.
That's an overreaction.
Yeah.
That's an overreaction.
Very, very
That's
over.
fair.
No, but Big Sauce getting minutes would be nice.
That's too much sauce.
If we're done with our Suns over under reactions, whatever, I have a couple normal NBA ones that I kind of just want to throw out there real quick.
Yeah, let's do that and then we'll finish up.
All right. MVP goes to DeMar DeRozan. Is my overreaction right now. Dude has been playing ridiculously well and is putting up numbers comparable to Michael Jordan right now. And he's doing it all with like barely any three-point shooting. Dude's been great. Luke Walton deserves Coach of the Year for whatever in the world he did to Nick Young to make him play defense.
No.
I don't know what it is, man, but like
Cool your jets, Lakers, bruh. You're just a California kid.
Nick Young.
Dub Nation,
Dub
Laker
Nation.
Nation,
Oh my gosh.
Vape Nation.
Hashtag 420 blaze it.
Oh my gosh. Kings Nation. Did we say that? Already?
No. Oh my gosh. Don't even do that. And then
Boogie
did
for
I have
night.
one more?
Straight
Oh
up.
yeah, no, I did have one more overreaction since you guys said how much of a great Dub Nation fan I am, and it makes me want to blow my brains out. My over/underreaction is that Kevin Durant is the best rim protector on the Warriors. Which at first you might say,
Are you
like,
saying this because you saw him block Devin Booker's dunk one time on a fast break? Is that where this is coming from?
No.
Or is there more?
no,
Is there really more? Are you really going to say he's a better rim protector than, like, I mean, Zaza? We know roller
yes,
skates, pumpkin.
he,
But, I mean, Draymond might be the better rim protector.
I legitimately think that the Warriors have looked the best defensively when Kevin Durant has been playing the 4. And while you say, yeah, because of the death lineup, blah, 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 just, I mean, if you look at the Spurs game where there was that short minutes at the end of the second where Kevin Durant, like, was getting blocks here and there, he was just playing really strong defense at the 4 position. And if you look through these games where they go through these crazy tirade sessions of scoring, it's while Kevin Durant is in that death lineup, but he's also defending the rim on the other side. And I'm not sure if the numbers will really back this up that much because I kind of have just pulled this up. But if you look at Durant as the small ball 4 in the Thunder lineup last year and how he turned it up a notch and was the superstar on defense and offense last year during the playoffs, and you think of how if you watch him play defense, just watch him play defense next time that you are watching the Warriors, because he's just been playing fantastic defense. And I am looking at here now, he is actually leading, or not, he's not leading, but he's got 1.4 blocks so far this season per game. And I don't know if that's necessarily leading, but because I'm dumb and actually opened up just his stats, and it's the most blocks that he's averaged so far, even though it's a short season. And I don't know. He looks like Draymond Green's averaging 1.6 and Kevin Durant's averaging 1.4. I just want you to look at him while he's playing defense in that small. I want you to just watch. Yeah, I mean, just watch, and you can tell me if it's an under or overreaction. But I legitimately think that Kevin Durant right now for the Warriors is a better rim protector than Draymond Green.
Okay. That's all. That's really all. The only direction I want to go with that, because, yeah, you know what? That makes perfect timing for us to end the show like we always do. It's time for David's Comic Book Corner, Mitch's Face Melting Minute, and then I'll come up with something. So, David, take it away.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about The Mighty Thor by Walter Simonson. I read his first volume just this past week and a half, something like that. It's just a fantastic run on Thor. It's a lot of fun to read. The first issue, he introduces this character called Beta Ray Bill, which is basically this half horse looking dude that is worthy of Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and it becomes like his own version of Thor and beats up Thor. It's a really good run, and the first volume, you can find it online. It's just really good. The art's really strong. The writing is really great. Just check it out. It's The Mighty Thor by Walt Simonson, Volume 1.
Right on. Good stuff, David. And, you know, I really try not to talk about sports here, but...
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Come on.
Okay. I've noticed lately that my weekends have just been a little nicer lately. And it seems like on Sunday nights, I just sleep a little better. And, I mean, I wake up Monday morning ready to go, just ready to face the world. And I've been trying to figure out why, and it hit me. The Dolphins are on a 4-game winning streak, and they're above 500 for the first time in... it's been a long time since the Dolphins have been over 500. So they took on our boy David's favorite team, the San Diego Chargers, back to that California love.
Yay!
David the Cali kid. So, we just made Phillip Rivers look silly in this game. 4 interceptions out of Phillip. And I already shared this with David, but if you happen to be another Chargers fan listening to the show, I have some terrible news for you. Every team that the Miami Dolphins have beat during this stretch haven't won a game since they lost to the Dolphins. So, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Chargers bros, but your season's pretty much over. Sorry, David.
R.I.P.
One more thing, and to all Chargers fans, better luck next year in L.A.
Oh, you know what? You son of a...
You
son of a...
Oh, drop
I'm going to
the
jump
mic.
through this camera and choke you out. You no good dirty run.
Whoa. Oh, bleep that. Oh. And go Broncos. Yeah, so I wore white cleats to work today. Just thought it was the right thing to do. No, I didn't, but I wish I would have. My plug is it's called The Stage by Avenged Sevenfold. They surprisingly released this album about 2 weeks ago. I thought their album Hail to the King was terrible. I thought it was horrid. I don't like it at all. And so when this came out, I was pretty surprised, and the little bit I had heard on the radio before, I was like, oh, this is a lot back to their roots, and it's a lot better. And usually I pick favorite songs, but this is definitely intended to be listened to from start to finish, so I'm not going to pick favorite songs, just listen to the whole thing straight through.
So good.
It's
so
really good.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Really, really good.
All right, good stuff, guys. And that's going to do it for this week. Be sure to check us out on social media. Follow us on Twitter under the handle @SunnyInPHXPod. Find us on Facebook under the name Phoenix Suns, multiple sources. Hit us up through email with questions or suggestions at sunnyinphxpod@gmail.com. Head over to the website at sunnyinphxpod.com and to the entire multiple sources blog and podcast network. Thanks for tuning in. Go Suns.